Welcome to the tactics talk for Coventry versus Leicester. Sam, obviously it's the big one. It's the M69 Derby. What's your take on this very quickly before we get into the intro?
Yeah, it's a big game, I guess, for championship standards anyway.
Yeah.
I agree with like Jake and that. I'm ready to just go back to the Premier League now. I'm a bit bored, but probably the biggest game, or one of the bigger ones of the game that we're going to face. So we'll enjoy it and we'll see what the result will be.
Yeah, exactly. Right, let's get into the show.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content, like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live. Thanks to our sponsors, Everards, Barlow Blinds, Pukka Pies, Car Leasing, Distillers Direct, Hollogram, Take Me, Newby Co, and the Foxes, Arms and Rainbows. We are live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So, as we say, welcome to the Tactics Talk. This is Coventry versus Leicester. Sam, we're obviously going to go for the teams like we always do every week and pick who we think should start. There's quite a few obviously injuries at the moment and some players off at AFCON. So we'll obviously talk about them as we go through the team. But I think we'll start off with the keeper and just basically just pick the same one as we do every week, really, isn't it?
Yeah, Hermanson again. It doesn't do much wrong. Doesn't have to do too much in games, period, at the moment. We have to let in some sloppy goals, I think, over the past few games, when push comes to shove. But as overall, he's a solid keeper. And yeah, it's just a solid keeper, isn't he, really? He doesn't do much wrong, doesn't have to do loads in a game, so he just stays in there.
Yeah. Dawn says, hope we don't lose to them burgers. Oh, buggers, sorry. Yeah, buggers. That was a misspell already. David says, hope we start Atgun over Cassidy or even Dennis Pratt. We'll get through that. I'll get to that a bit later on in the show. But we'll start with the defenders then, Sam. Obviously, we'll go to your team first. What is your take on this defence? Because is there any changes or do you think it's going to be the same back three as the last couple of weeks?
The matches are kind of slowed down. There's not as many coming. We're not playing as many, not 2 a week. It's been more of one every 7 or 8, even 9 days. Next one after this is quite a while away. So I think you're going to see strongest 11 against Coventry. They're going to be up for it. Hopefully our lads are going to be up for it. So Vestergaard starting in the middle of the centre-back. Pies on the right centre-back role, I guess. I think that's what that position is now. And Justin, contender would be Doyle. Now he's back fit, but I think he's been out for a long enough time where Justin has, he's played fairly decently. Like I said, I'm not his biggest fan in this formation. I think when it comes to defensive, I think he struggles a little bit, but he's a solid player, and I wouldn't put Doyle straight back into a tough game.
I probably would say you've got to put your main 11 in there. There's no doubt about it. You don't drop any players to rest them, do you? We obviously did that against Millwall in some ways. We still have a few players in there, but it was mainly a B team. But coming into this game now, it's one of the biggest games probably of the season for a lot of Leicester fans. So you've probably got to put for 11. I'm agreeing with you. Vestergaard has to be in there. He's probably one of the best defenders in the Championship. To say that, yes, we have dropped down, but he has done pretty well. I think Faze, again, needs to be in there. I think he's another solid defender in the Championship, and he obviously knows what he's doing in the Premier League when he was there. And then finally, the left side, which I'm going to disagree with you. I think Doyle does start here because I think he suits it better in that role. When we had him at the start of the season, he felt more comfortable. Yes, I think JJ's done brilliantly when he's come in to cover him. But as well, we're playing Coventry, who he did play with last year. And obviously, I know you said that it doesn't matter with his injury. He's been 3 months out. But I just have a feel there's some kind of correlation to why he should be playing against them. Because he knows how they play.
Yeah, because he'll give them an own goal.
He won't give them an own goal.
Well, in my eyes, I think starting Doyle would be the wrong thing to do because he's had a pretty long-term injury. And if we chucked him right back in the deep end, he's going to make mistakes. Because Coventry are going to be up for it. And if it was me, I would definitely keep Doyle away from that first team, at least for the first however long. Because if we're winning 3-0 and it's half-time, maybe switch him on to get some game time. But if you start him and he does some mistakes, which he more than likely will do, as most players coming back from injury do, takes a few games and some time to get into it. I think it's too big of a crowd because he used to play for Coventry. The fans will be on his back as well. So if he makes any mistakes, they'll definitely be giving him grief. And I just think it's too crucial of a match, really, to be thrown away just to give Doyle time, if you ask me.
Yeah, I guess I can see why either way. Obviously, I am a big fan of Justin in that role as well, but I think because of him getting game time in the Millwall game, I honestly could see why he'd be in this team against Coventry. He did play against them in the first game of the season as well, and I thought he did play well in that one from what I can remember. But
I think though he was been very good up until his injury.
Yeah.
But I just think it's too little too soon. They're not. Coventry are doing pretty decent. They found some good form. Obviously not the best in the Championship, but they're 8th now, I think, in the league. They picked up some good points in the last 10 games. So for me, I just think the best starting 11 is probably Justin, just because you don't know what Doyle could be like after injury.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, we'll move into the midfield then. Is there any change here? Because in my opinion, since this man's been coming in, I think we've played a lot better. And that's putting Chowdhury in that more defensive role instead of Ricardo. Obviously, Ricardo has the passing ability that Chowdhury doesn't. But when we do see Chowdhury in that starting 11, I feel like we have a bit of confidence when it comes going forward.
Well, I would disagree. If you ask me, I think if you start Chowdhury, you are setting up to defend more, which is fine because
I feel like you have to be more attacking when he's in there though, because he can't pass the ball as well.
Chowdhury for who though?
For Ricardo.
But they're two fairly similar players because they're both defensive anyway. But for me, Chowdhury, I think it is saying, we're going to sit back a little bit and let them attack as well, as Pereira's more of the right wing. He cuts into the middle of the park, whereas you see Chowdhury, he won't take himself forward. He will sit back and let Winks take himself forward. So for me, if Pereira starts, you see Winks sit back. If you see Chowdhury start, Winks goes up a little bit more. So that's the thing that I think is works. Like I said, I think Chowdhury's been okay. It doesn't make a difference because I think Pereira's a better attacker than Winks is, which is nothing wrong. Winks is a great holding midfielder, and that's just his role. But again, I wouldn't have an issue with starting Chowdhury tomorrow. I wouldn't give them any chance to think, oh, they're starting Chowdhury. So to me, as a Coventry player's head, if they saw Chowdhury in the team, they might think they're going to sit back a little bit more, and we'll press them and attack them, because that is our Achilles heel this season. When we're passing it around the back and teams high pressure as we give the ball away and we concede, we've done that at least 5 to 10 times where we give the ball away and conceded twice against Blackburn. I think we conceded, well, it was at least once and we gave it away and we almost conceded again in the space of about 3 minutes, doing the same sloppy passing around the back. Which I know that's the style, it's a slow build-up, but for me, if you have Chowdhury in there, I just think it does slow the game down a little bit. And against Coventry at home, they're going to full send it tomorrow. It is tomorrow now. And I think that's the last thing we need is a team that's ready to beat, the local team, because that's what we are for them and they are for us. I just think don't, give them a chance to find our weak spot, because I think if you agreed, Reedy, our weak spot is passing around the back and teams high pressuring us. So if we give them the chance to push on that, and I think if you allow Chowdhury to be in that mix, it does say we're defending a little bit more than we're attacking. But I still like him as a player. Yeah,
I think I do agree with you in what you're saying, and I don't think he should be in this team. I'm just saying I'll maybe have a shout in case he would be, because like I say, every time we've seen him in the last couple of games was the Watford, the Plymouth, and I think one other game that's just been recent, and we've got a clean sheet in all three of them. So I was kind of pointing out that he could be a reason why he does get into the team. But I think we're both going to agree that there's two players in this spot that are always going to be in that role, aren't they?
Yeah, Winks and Pereira for me, again, like I said, I am more of a fan of the way we attack than when we defend. I mean, I know the philosophy is build it up from the back, but for me, I would rather see Pereira in that role just for tomorrow's game, because I think, again, when you play the more caliber, higher pressing teams, and like Coventry, I do think we need a better overall, passing, attacking. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Chowdhury, but I think if you look at it stat for stat, player for player, Pereira is the better player overall. So for me, I'm going to leave him in the team. I don't think he's not done anything outstanding this season, but, he's been a fairly 7 out of 10 all season. So I'd keep him in there. And like I said, nothing wrong with Chowdhury. I like him as a player. I just think he's better at not closing the game down, but, holding that ball in the midfield against teams, that aren't going to pressure as much. I just think it's going to be a, goal-to-goal game tomorrow. I think Coventry are going to fully send it, and I think we're going to try and counter it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be a 0-0. I don't see us not conceding in a way. I think we will
Like
concede.
I said, our Achilles heel passing around the back. We will concede in some way, and usually it's a stupid way because
Normally it's set piece, to be honest.
Yeah,
recently.
well, set piece or giving the ball away. We're not very good at switching on when corners or free kicks come in. We seem to turn off a little bit in those positions, but it's a tough one, really. It's hard to say how the game will go because you never know which Coventry's going to show up. But for me, their stats so far, they've gone from being 16th, 17th in the league to 8th. They're not a game to mess around with. And like I said, we could be 13 points clear of Ipswich because they're dropping points left, right, and centre, picking up draws. And I could see them drawing on the weekend as well. And Leeds. For me, Coventry is a good place to test ourselves and see if we can actually pick up some points against an on-form team in the Championship.
Yeah, Chester does say here Ricardo has got to start. I agree. Michael also says start Ricardo. Said Chowdhury. Ricardo has a goal on him and he's on fire at the moment. I wouldn't say he's on fire, but he does. I think he does what he needs to do.
I think he scored a couple in the past few games. He did against Huddersfield.
Yeah, he did against Millwall. He did against Millwall.
He's on for a few goals.
Yeah, fair enough.
And when a player's on form, won't take him out. Like I said, I've not. I could say honestly, I've not watched a couple of past games recently. Been busy. Christmas period, so it's good to get back into the swing of it. We'll be watching it tomorrow, and I think the best way to start is to put the first 11 back in there after I wouldn't know if it would be a shaky game against Millwall, but a 3-2 result again. It's not comfortable when you're winning 3-2. I mean, it was away, and we did have a good goal advantage, but that shows kind of the B team players, which I think we'll discuss in the attack now, who is in there, because this is where the AFCON players and the injuries really show who is now going to be our attacking five.
Yeah, final comment before we move into the attack would be Jamie says McAtee available again after sitting out on the past month with hamstring injury. Pratt back for Cov, 2, Vardy and Alves both getting back but not yet. So obviously from that comment then, what is your winger selection? Because obviously Fatu hasn't gone to the AFCON.
Yeah, I think it's
He's
easy.
chosen
the
to
wingers
not
are
go.
easy.
Yes, I probably do agree with you.
Mavididi left side. Again, he's just won Player of the Month for December. He is on fire at the moment. He is probably the best player in our team at the moment, getting a lot of assists, getting a lot of goals.
Well, probably wouldn't agree with that, but
the stats can disagree with you if you want. But, I think he's got about 7 or 8 goals and assists just in December alone. So
I think,
yeah,
I'm not seeing him, but fair enough.
He's scored quite a few and he's got a few assists. So for me, Mavididi, one of the key players at the moment, keep him going.
Peter Taylor says Sam speaks a lot of sense.
I appreciate that.
For once he does anyway.
And Fatawi on the right side, AFCON. I don't know if it was because he wasn't selected or if it because he chose. I don't know if they've said. But either way, I'm happy that he's still at Leicester because again he's been playing on form really well at the moment. And again, not Mavididi, McAtee coming back into fitness. You've got Atgun, Albrighton. You've got a lot of space on that right side and the right attacking mid side. To switch it around, I'd start with Fatawi because I think he's been very key, and he's another player that's been getting a lot of assists for us at the moment. People saying, "Well, what's the stats to prove it?" But he's created the most chances, period, in the Championship. He's been, I think, about 18 or 19 chances created, and that's the highest amount. And with a player like that, 19, never played in England, there's a lot to speak about him. Again, he gets back into the team.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, for me, Mavididi is getting more consistent. Obviously, beforehand, the first couple of months of the season, we didn't see the consistency in there. But throughout December, he was scoring more goals, he was getting more assists, and he was beating his man that we were saying that he wasn't doing before. But with Fatawu, I think, in my opinion, I think he didn't want to go to AFCON. I honestly thought he wanted to stay with Leicester because he was in such good.
I've not heard neither one side or the other.
No, I'm not saying it is, but I honestly feel like he's in brilliant form for us. Obviously, he's not scoring goals, but he's showing what he can do for Leicester, and he's probably enjoying his time here.
Yeah, AFCON it's not like the World Cup, but it's fairly similar for the African clubs in the sense that it's quite big for them over there. I'm not quite sure someone who's as young as himself, if he was to pick, would reject it. If you ask me, because I think he's got a bright future, whether that's at Leicester or not.
Yeah,
I think if he was picked, he would have gone. For me, I think he's just 19 years old and he's still building his way into that. If we get into the Premier League and we sign him permanently, I could definitely see him. Is he Cameroon or Ghana?
He's Ghana.
Ghana. I could definitely see him getting into the Ghana team fairly regularly. But right now, I'm just happy that he's still at Leicester because that period of about 6 weeks for how long the AFCON runs for. If Ghana were to make it to the final and he was there, that's 6 weeks. That's 8 games of not having Fatawa, and I do struggle to think who is the most consistent player on the right side. That isn't
and that's what I
Fatawa.
mean. That's why I think, because even at the start of the season, I was saying to you when we first signed him, I was like, isn't this a bit of a stupid move? We don't like he's
Well, he
really
was only on loan. So
no, but it was only 19. I thought, are we ever going to use him? Because obviously McAteer was in good form. You had obviously Marcel in that role as well at that time.
I think he was definitely the surprise signing.
Yes.
I was surprised loanee. When he came over, I was like, who is he? Never heard of him. But again, like I said, he's tearing up at the moment and doing very well.
Yeah, completely agree. We'll get into the centre attacking mids then. Obviously, there's only one name, I think, for the left-hand side. I think you can't drop him as much as I was saying. I don't think he's had the best performances since the start of the season. But we'll again, keep going for that.
Still the best rated.
He is. So I think I'm already going to put him in for you because we know he's going to be in there. So
of course he is. Best player in the championship.
And then on the right hand side, who is your pick? Because this is the one position now where we have got a choice, but we've not got our main choice.
McAteer is an option, but I don't think he's getting in the team. Atgun, did he play against Millwall? Atgun, I think he started, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did okay. Did he get an assist?
He nearly scored as well.
I think Atgun is probably the only option, but again, I think we're really trying to push, and by we, I mean Maresca's really trying to push Cassidy in that role. He got a goal, a decent header. Obviously, when you're 6'5", I think it's not hard to put headers away. But
especially if it's on the plate.
If we're going on who I think will start, I think Cassidy is going to start. If who I want to start, I'm putting Atgun in. I prefer Atgun over Cassidy. I don't think he's, like I said, I don't think Cassidy's been amazing so far this season. I think he's very inconsistent and he doesn't do enough for me in that role. I think against Coventry, try and pick your best 11. But I do think Maresca, I don't know if it's the Italian link or whatever's going on. He seems to like Cassidy in some way, shape or form. I don't know why Chelsea paid 15 million for him. I wouldn't pay 15 pence for him personally. But I do think he gets in the team, Cassidy will do. But in my opinion, I prefer Atgun.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree. I think we will see Cassidy in that team tomorrow. I think, like I say, I think the Italian link is the main one. And I think that when he first came in, I think Enzo said that he knows how to get into that box. And obviously he showed it the moment he came on the pitch.
Interesting to see how many games he's
Cardiff.
on now, Atgun, because
I think he's on like 18 now already.
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he's played well enough to sign him.
You know what, as we're talking, I'll very quickly look because I want to know this.
I'm curious to see how many times he's
if he's like nearly 20 already, then he's definitely going to have to be
he's on if we play him for 25 games, we do have to sign him for about 10
12
million.
appearances, okay. It's not as high as I thought it was.
Well, 12 appearances. That's what about in the cup competition?
That's it, I think.
No, she needs to click on the button. Go, click on the badge. There you go.
1,
2. So he's on 15 appearances. So he's got 10 more appearances in him.
15 games.
You click on the Champions League badge. That's
I know, right?
Galatasaray. That's
I know, right?
Club, mate.
But yeah, I get what you're saying about Atgun. I did say that I did like him when he was in that role more than being on the wing, because when we first played him, he was on the wing and he just didn't look strong enough. But I can see where you're coming from in that role. But I'm going to disagree with you in that spot. I think Dewsbury has to be in there, of course. But on the right-hand side, I'm picking DP. I'm picking Dennis Pratt. I think out of all the players we've got, other than Ndidi being out, I think he's our best attacking midfielder. I honestly think he is. Obviously, Dewsbury is classed as an attacking midfielder now, but I think his main position is centre mid. But in this style and formation, I think Dennis Pratt is our best player on the ball. So I do think Dennis Pratt does come in. Hopefully, he did start against, was it Northampton in a few of the other pre-season games when we played in pre-season. I thought he did quite well in that role. But then he got injured, and that's where I think he had to put Ndidi in that role. So for me, I think Dennis Pratt does get into that. Do you think in any way you see him in that team?
I like Pratt as a player. I think he's a solid player. But I think he's very injury prone. I don't know if he walks straight back into the team when there's a few other options out there. But I'd like to see him feature a bit more. But again, I think he's probably one of the players that is going to leave Leicester, if not January, in the summer. But if he gets into the team, it'd be nice to see him there. I can't see it personally. Yeah,
like I said, I don't think it will happen. I honestly do see Cassidy going into that spot. But I think a few people, like I say, Jamie is always a big fan of Dennis Pratt. Chester says harsh on Cassidy. He struggled but has got a goal in him. I guess, but he just doesn't look up to the.
I've not seen him do too much other than a couple.
The chances against
He's took his
the
goals
chances
well,
against
don't get me wrong.
Sunderland, the chances against Sunderland when we all said he actually had a quite good game.
Yeah,
But then over that, he does score a goal, but he doesn't have the best performance when he
took his
scores.
goals well. I won't argue that. He scored, I think, 2 or 3. And he's took them well. Like you say, I can't argue that. But I think overall, when you're looking at he's a central attacking midfielder. You know, he's one that's meant to be creating the space and the goals and turning players. I don't see it personally. I don't think he's, right for us. Yeah, I know. I've read that comment too. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. Don't worry. If you say Castell's a good player, you can just say it. I don't mind. I personally don't think he's a good player.
No, I don't. I call him a donkey when I'm at the games because he just doesn't do anything right.
I just don't. I don't know. There's nothing about him that really excites me. That's really shown that he deserves his place in the team too much. But I'd happily be proven wrong if he starts and does well against Coventry.
Yeah, Liam says here, I thought Atkin has been picking up pace. I'd play him. I wouldn't be annoyed if he played in that role. I would put Atkin over Cassidy. I would put Pratt over Cassidy. That's what we're saying. That literally, out of all the players we've got in that role, you'd put players over Cassidy because of how his performances have been. Yes, he might have scored a few goals, but he's not been to the level we need him to be performance-wise. He might score a few goals, but anyone can score goals. Like I say, Atkin could score goals and he'd have a poor game. So for me, I don't know. I say Pratt, you say Atkin, but then again, McAteer could be in that role as well. You never know.
Could be. Back from injury. How long has he been out for now, McAteer? A few weeks again.
Yeah, about a month.
Don't see him walking straight back into the team, especially in a position that's not really suited to him. But you never know, like I said. And strikers is Cannon, isn't it?
Are you sure? You're not going to put Man Mahisa in there?
Who?
Exactly. The youngster for the... he came on against Millwall. He was...
No, again, Cannon's been scoring quite a lot. I don't know, was it 3 goals in 2 games now? So
scored quite a few different style of goals as well.
Yeah, and again, Daka, who was finding a little bit of form, was obviously off to AFCON. Vardy out injured. Iheanacho wasn't really playing well anyway, but he's gone to AFCON. So it doesn't matter. So it really is between Cannon and Cannon who starts up front really at the moment. So Cannon gets into the team. I just hope he doesn't get injured really, because if he does get injured, we are struggling.
Yeah,
for who goes up top really.
I completely agree, because me and Phil were talking about it when we were coming back to the office, that Cannon is our only choice, and if he's out, yes, I don't think we would need to rely on a striker to score, because at the start of the season when none of our players were really scoring up front, Vardy wasn't getting many goals, Kell wasn't getting any goals, a lot of the team were scoring goals. Yeah. But it does help when we've got a striker who knows where to put the ball. And
he is playing very Vardy-esque. I saw him say that he used to watch Jamie Vardy highlights on YouTube to manage himself on how to be, that clinical finisher. So, he's looked fairly decent so far. Can't fault him. My biggest concern is just hopefully he doesn't get injured really, because if he does, that it kind of does, not, I wouldn't say mess up, but who is to start? I mean, I know Vardy's back in training, so you would argue Vardy could come back in. But again, he's 37 now. Happy birthday to him. He just turned it the other day. Yeah. When you turn 37 as a striker, a lot of them have retired by this point, to be honest with you.
Or off to Saudi or MLS or something like that.
The fact that he's still going, and obviously, it's difficult when you get older. He's not got the legs in him as much, but that's just what happens. But again, I am concerned that do we have enough strikers? And really, we did a post earlier about Enzo saying there is no players coming in until players go. Would you see a new striker come in if we had the funds and the space and the FFP stuff to sign a new striker, or do you think we're going to look for a different position? Obviously,
it's hard because we have got a few players out at the moment. We've got Daka obviously at AFCON, but when he's back, I'd expect him to get into the team. Obviously, we saw him beforehand.
I wouldn't expect him to get into the team.
No, but
I expect him to rotate with Cannon.
Yes, but it's like, for instance, beforehand we were saying that Daka wasn't even making the bench. Yeah, this is where now he was scoring for us, and he's gone to the AFCON. When he gets back, he should be a place on the bench easily, because we've seen him score quite a few goals. He's come on he's not come on, but he's shown he deserves to be on that team, even if it's starting or substitute, over someone like Kelechi, in my opinion. But then you've obviously got Kell, who hasn't really shown much in this season for me. And then Vardy, at times, he does well, but again, he can't play week in, week out for me as well, especially if we do 2 games in a week. So I don't think we need another striker if Cannon's safe, but
there's no guarantees.
No, if Cannon gets injured at this moment in time, who do you even play up front? Do you play Manwahisa, the youngster, or do you put someone like Mavadidi up front?
I assume you would play. I don't know if you go for the youngster straight away. He might be the bench option if things aren't going well. But I do think you're going to play someone like Mavadidi, Fatawu, Dewsbury Hall, maybe. I know it's a bit of a risky one, but if you don't have any other options, you've got to put someone up front. We could play with a false nine, really. I mean, I'm looking at it now. We could remove Cannon completely if he was to get injured and put Cassidy, Alves, Atgun, Pratt in that middle, and you play with a centre forward, a false nine, without, a bit how Liverpool played in the past, Man City themselves before Haaland. That I could see that happening, but again, I don't know how much it's going to change because we've gone from last season, very different formations every week, very different teams each week, to very consistent. And if we were to lose a player like Cannon and have no backup striker, who is, or how do we play the next game? You never know, really. I think we've been lucky with injuries, but I think we've got that Premier League coverage, don't we? We've had the depth like most teams don't have because we've come down from the Premier League to Championship.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're doing okay, but we are one striker away from, not having a striker pretty much. We're one injury in Cannon away from not having anyone to cover him.
Yeah, there with our teams, guys. Obviously, the only kind of changes were my Doyle to his JJ. Obviously, JJ starts the last couple of games, so I won't be surprised with that. And obviously, you've chosen Atgun in that role to replace Ndidi while he's out, and I've put in Dennis Pratt. So obviously, last comment of the day we're going to ask is score prediction. Sam, you're obviously going to be watching it.
Yeah.
What's your prediction for tomorrow?
I really don't know, to be honest. It depends which Leicester and which Coventry shows up. We've been very good at the moment, picking up a draw in the last 5 and the rest wins. The draw against Ipswich. Coventry, I think we'll win. I think we'll draw. I think we'll win. I actually don't know. I'm going to say 2-1 win to Leicester. But I think this could go either way. Like I said, they're on form. I wouldn't go down to the bookies with it. I'll tell you that much because I couldn't predict it right now. But I'm going to say 2-1 and Cannon to score and Mavadidi to get the other.
There we go. I've been consistent with my score every time I've been asked this week, and I'm going to stick with my 2-2. I honestly think it's going to be a good game. Yes, we should be winning against Coventry with the team we've got, but they're in good form. They've not lost in 8. We've not lost in I don't know how many now. It's going to be a hard game. I'm not going to say it's an easy game. So if we do draw away, you'd probably say fair enough. I don't think you would be annoyed if you did draw the game in a way. As much as we should be winning it. But there you go, guys. Any more comments for the day? David says
2 draws coming in, yeah.
2-2, 3-2 to Leicester.
Glenn saying 4-1 to Coventry.
Glenn saying 4-1 to Coventry. He is.
I think he's a Leicester fan.
I don't know. I can't see if he is a Leicester fan, but he does also say any worries about the lack of pace in your defence given the pace of Cov in their side. I don't know. He might be a Cov fan, but I think for me, the one thing I will mention is I've seen a few times this season that Enzo switched JJ and FaZe to the other side to kind of combat their wingers. Obviously, against Hull, they had one of the best wingers.
I don't think we have a slow defence. I have Vestergaard's a slow defender, but FaZe and Justin...
No, yeah, FaZe ain't slow at all.
They're quite quick at turning around, to be fair. Vestergaard is slow, but that's why he's in the middle. You have Justin and FaZe on the other side of him to cover it. I don't think we actually do have a slow defence. I think we've got fairly fast defence, just one player who is on the slower side.
Yeah, Ronald McDonald says, do we need another centre forward to get us up over the line like how we signed Kevin Phillips in the last time we were in the Championship? I can't remember that, but you probably might be able to.
You weren't a fan by that point.
Oh,
this
funny.
was before we got promoted,
yeah,
so you
funny.
wouldn't know. I personally think right now we do need another striker. Obviously, with Daka out to AFCON and Vardy a little bit older now, injuries. He's been injured a few times already this season, and he's still out. He's in training, but with it just being Cannon, I really don't know who else we'd play unless we were just to risk it. But we're not going to sign anyone. Like I said, we've seen Esco. Oh God, we're both messing up words.
Escobar.
Enzo Maresca said in his conference that the club has no funds to buy players without selling them first, which we all predicted because we've got at least 10 players, probably in and around that Premier League team from last season, such as Ward, Iverson, who's now gone on loan to Stoke, but players like, Ward and that, sitting on the bench, not doing anything, taking his 50, 60 grand a week that I'm sure we're going to really want to ship off, which we've heard Sheffield United are interested in Danny Ward. we'll see how far that goes. You know,
And again,
Luke Thomas.
if
they're picking all the great players, aren't they?
If Sheffield United's keeper at the moment can't keep them up, I don't know why they want Ward.
I don't think anything's going to help them, really.
No, but there you go, guys. Appreciate you coming on. Obviously, there are two teams. Make sure you comment and let us know your score predictions in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next show. See you in a bit, guys.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, Everards, Barlow Blinds, Pukka Pies, Car Leasing, Distillers Direct, Hollogram, Take Me, Newby Co, The Fox's Arms and Rainbows. Run by the fans, for the fans. Follow us on socials at Leicester Fan TV and visit leicesterfantv.com for all the latest news, views and videos.